So going back to GB News and the whole issue yesterday and the day before, the night before, starting with Jeff Norcott and the conversation that Ava Evans had on Politics Live. And Ava did very well on Politics Live. I mean, she acquitted herself beautifully until that last exchange with Jeff Norcott. And then rather than dealing with the issue at hand, I think she was dealing with underlying issues. Maybe with Jeff Norcott, I don't know, but Norcott brought up the issue of male suicide, and I don't think Ava took that as seriously as she should have done. She conceded almost immediately by saying, well, look, I'll read the book and I'll change my mind, which was very gracious and rather entertaining, rather humorous. But in some senses, the damage was slightly done because male suicide is such a significant problem and so difficult to talk about that it needs to be handled when it comes up. It needs to be handled with grace and with sincerity. And it shouldn't be tossed off as something in a sort of gender battle or a cultural battle. That's not how it should be handled. Now, Ava pointed out that she was a little rash, perfectly reasonable, and then she was attacked by Lawrence Fox. Now, on the Dan Wootton show, both Dan Wootton and Lawrence Fox have been suspended, rightly so. I suspect the Dan Wootton thing, it was simply the last straw on the camel's back. Lawrence Fox, there's a Lawrence Fox leaked social media, a Twitter stream or whatever it was, where he said, my purpose is to make you laugh. And Dan Wootton replied, well, there'll be shocks in the gallery. The gallery will be surprised. But it was quite clear from that exchange that Wootton and Fox were in this together. And I think that's what sealed Wootton's doom on this occasion. But I think, as I say, it was the last straw on the camel's back. I also gather, though I haven't found the actual evidence, that there was collusion with production staff about what Fox was going to say. But I know from my own experience in television that would be inevitable, that producers would be thronging around asking what he wanted to say and approving it and so on. So what you say on television is very rarely entirely off the cuff. And there is a level of rehearsal about almost everything that goes on. I think this is a mistake. It's something that's grown up in modern television, and it destroys the creativity and the impulse of TV. And then to try and pretend that everything is spontaneous, all the notes are taken away. It is madness. I've been in GB TV. I know what that place is like. And I suppose at some point I ought to put up a video or a still or something of me standing in a green screen studio in GB TV. Yesterday I was, there was one comment which was rather pointed, saying that I'm anti-Brexit and anti-GB TV and anti-Fox and anti-Wootton. I'm really not. I am anti-Wootton, but with reason, I think. And I'm not anti-Fox particularly. I like Fox. I don't like what he says. I don't like the way he's developed since he's left acting. And he hasn't quite left acting. He's still doing bits and pieces. And I hope he continues to do bits and pieces because he's good. As for GB News, well, I wish it would go down a slightly different route, because there's room for a GB News, there's room for a talk TV, but not in its present form, and not if it's entirely staffed by a stable of people currently in the House of Commons, because that's not right. And it just, it smacks of irregularity. So to go back to the program and the fallout from that program, I don't see Dan Wootton returning. I don't see Fox returning to GB News. I think it will be very hard for either of them to claw their way back into this form of the media. I think they're too heavily soiled, and soiled by association. Also, I think we're getting a parade of people who are just on the way out now, starting with Philip Schofield, then Hugh, then Wootton, then Russell Brand. I don't think there's any hope for these people, no matter what they say, no matter how much they try to cling on. They can cling on to their fan base, but even that, I think, is going to be stretched. The impression I get is that the numbers of watching GB News, the GB News support, which has gone up recently, may well plummet significantly after this, and rightly so. But as I say, with a rebrand, with a realignment, GB News could be a valuable player in the media arsenal that we've got. But Lucy Fraser, of course, also came off badly in this story. She wasn't prepared on breakfast television on ITV facing Richard Madeley to condemn the activity of sitting members of Parliament on broadcast television, hosting their own channels in defiance of Ofcom. Either Ofcom works or Ofcom doesn't work. But Ofcom seems to be the word which is used when Lucy Fraser and her cohort of 13 former Secretaries of State don't want to answer a question. I challenge Lucy Fraser to tea. I really challenge her, but I don't expect she's ever going to take that up. There's so many questions that need to be asked. There's so much good she could do, but she's not going to. She's going to think about the possibility of becoming leader of the opposition.